Welcome to Sprinkle with Hope podcast and your host Shane. And today we have an amazing guest, Heidi Tucker. She has written some books. She goes around speaking and really just inspires people. So Heidi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. So good to be here.
Very good. So you have written a few books. Why don't we talk a little bit about those? What are the titles of those books that you've written, and what was the inspiration in those?
Well, I have three books. I'm working on my fourth right now, but my three books right now that are out are Finding Hope in the Journey. That's the baby first one that came out. That's a lot about me. It's a lot about my own feelings about hope and enduring the struggle and how to sort of do that in a better, more positive way. Second book is called Servie's Song, and it's about this beautiful woman from Africa who comes to the United States to earn money to send back to her children. She had just recently been widowed, and so she's trying to make the children's life better than her own. And so it's that whole journey of finding hope for her children. And she encounters a lot of difficulty during that transition, coming to the United States. It was really awful for her. There are some real tragic things that take place in her life, but it always comes back to her faith and to hope. And then finally, my most recent book that just went out is The Secret Keepers. And this is Margie's story. She's been horrifically abused and encountered trauma in her childhood. And it's her story of rising up from that, despite the incredible difficulties in her life because of that. And so everything I speak and write about, there's a consistent theme that you're going to hear from me, and that's hope. And I just am passionate about that. And I'm drawn to stories from other people who have risen up, from that. Those are the kind of books I like to read, because I take their amazing motivation and their ability to take another step in life, and I apply that to myself, right? You just change the details, put your own struggles in there, and it's just so inspirational when I read those stories. And so now I have the opportunity to write them, and I'm so grateful for that. It's just, I love what I do.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think you can see that Jason and I love talking about hope and spreading that hope and that positivity. We have a podcast called Sprinkle with Hope. So
I know, is there no better name in the world than that? That is just like the greatest name ever. I love it.
We're doing our parts, but I watched a video of you today. I just happened to see it today, where you were. It's just a short video of you talking about why you write books, and that you put yourself in the shoes of the reader. And there was a point where you said, I talk to people and they just cry after reading your books. And you said, well, I cry too, because writing it, because I put myself in your shoes. And that really touched me. I just thought that is such an amazing ability to do, is you're writing it for people to touch their lives. So why did you choose this? Why do you want to be an author and spread hope and love and those type of things?
Okay, well, let me start out truthfully by telling you that there is no bucket list anywhere in my life that says I want to be an author. I did not choose this, but I'm grateful for it. I had a dream. When I was 50 years old. I'm almost 60. This summer I'll be 60. But when I was 50 years old, I had a dream. And in that dream, I saw my hands holding a book, and I knew it was my book. And so I remember looking through the pages. They were my words. It was about struggling and enduring through that struggle and finding hope at the end of the road. And when I woke up from that dream, I had two thoughts. And the first one was, that was so real. I mean, it felt different than any other dream I'd ever had. And in general, I'm not a dreamer. I don't remember my dreams. When I go to bed at night, I'm out. And then the second thought I had was, there's no way. There's no way that I can write that. Why would I want to write that? I was at a really difficult time in my life at that point. I felt kind of physically and spiritually and emotionally beat up from some things that have been going on. And so I had some really great argumentative prayers where I listed all those ideas of why I am not the girl to write this book. You know, you got the wrong person here. There's a dream that's been, you know, short circuited, and somehow it came to me. And so I did that, but eventually I continued to have a lot of feelings and a lot of promptings that this is what I needed to do. And so I just took a step into the dark. You know, I felt so incapable and so uneducated and so not ready to do this. And I did it. And as soon as I began to write that first book, it came pouring out. I mean, as soon as I wrote that first sentence, it just poured out of me.
Wow.
And if you saw the file folder that first book comes from, you would just laugh, because it's got scraps of paper and gum wrappers and napkins from restaurants, because it never stopped. It just continued to come out all the time. And so I was constantly grabbing things and writing things down so that I would remember the next day, oh, I got to write about that. I got to write about that. So I'm just so grateful for that. I mean, I didn't see that coming. And frankly, every book since then has dropped into my lap. I do not go out looking for stories. They come to me. And I just think, really? Oh my gosh, I got to do this again. It's so hard. And it's so, I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful for this gift. But when I sit and I learn someone's story, I mean, I just sit and cry with the person. I mean, it consumes me, and it has to, because I want to write from my heart. And so I need to feel that story before I'll ever begin writing it. And so it's just an interesting journey. And so when a new one lands on me, I think, oh, I'm so tired. Can I just, you know, God, can you just like hit the pause button for a second? But until he does, I'll just keep writing. So, you know, as long as I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. So in addition to being, you know, wife, mom, grandma, I have a bookkeeping job that I do part-time. In addition to all of that, I just keep trying to wear my many hats every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate you writing these books and giving them to the world. And so, you know, I guess I had a question about hope, and why do you think hope is so important in the world today? Why would you say that it is important?
Well, all you have to do is tune into the news, right?
It's true.
And you feel just like hopeless, like where is the world going? You know, like it just feels dark. It feels disconnected. I feel like we're disconnected as people sometimes. And we can begin to really get down on ourselves and on our situations and in life in general. And so hope is taking a different perspective. It's having a higher level vision for yourself and for, you know, a perspective that goes beyond where you are at that moment. And so I think it's very necessary, and always has been, but maybe because hopelessness is a little more in our face these days with 24-hour news cycles, you know, and social media, we just can't get away from it. I think we need that hope. And I make it a point on all my social media platforms. I don't talk about the world events because we get enough of that. I just want to talk about light and about hope and about love. And so hopefully people can get a little sense of that, get a feeling of that in their day as they see something like that that's positive on social media.
Yeah, I think you fit right in with us, Heidi, because Jason and I feel the same way, that we can talk about current events, but there's so much of that already that we should just focus on the positive stuff and bringing more hope and love to the world. So I also appreciate the fact that you have sort of made this your calling, that you might not have thought that you were an author or able to write a book, but I think it's very commendable to you to have taken that step in that unknown and really made this your calling. And I know for a fact that you have touched many lives and you will continue to do so. So don't give up. Just, yeah, it can be tiring, but
Right.
keep spreading that love and that hope.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's frightening for any one of us, right? Regardless of what we're sort of feel like we were supposed to be doing. You get sort of a feeling or a calling, or you need to do this. Maybe it's just you need to speak to this family member, or right, or you need to have this conversation, with your boss, or whatever it is. It can be a number of things. It's hard to take that first step because you just feel those little gremlins are just screaming in your ears, right? They sit on your shoulders and say, you aren't smart enough, you aren't pretty enough, you aren't, dedicated enough, you're never going to get this done. And so that's what you hear, your internal voice. And it's hard to reach outside of that. But I can promise from my own experience that once you take that brave step, you will be supported, because I really do feel supported in this.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that when we do take those steps, we take that step into the darkness, or into, what we feel like is darkness, that it might be getting us closer to the light, or we might be in the light, right? I saw this really cool image today where this person was surrounded by light, and it says, something to the effect of, if it feels like it's dark, it's probably you might be in the light. And so you're looking out and you see darkness, but you might be surrounded by light. And so that, you talking kind of reminded me of this visual that you may be very much in that space.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
kind of a cool little visual, right? Of like just being in the light, but you think you're in darkness, and you might be taking that step towards the light and feel like it's dark, but it's not dark. You're just surrounded by light. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome thing to remember.
Yeah, it is. It just sparked it when I saw that. So what are you kind of working on right now? What are some of the things that you got coming up? You got more books, or what else is going on in your life?
Yeah, I've got more books that are sort of, back here in the file cabinet in my head. But right now I'm kind of spending quite a bit of time marketing The Secret Keepers, and just wanting to bring to light this incredible story of this woman that's just unbelievable. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about that if you want to do that.
Yeah, please. Let's
talk
about that.
Yeah. She contacted me because she had read my first two books, and she thought to herself, okay, if anybody can tell my story, this woman can tell my story. But she called me, and we have a mutual friend in common. And so I called her just to thank her as a favor to this friend, just to thank her for loving my books. I like to do that when people reach out. I'm so appreciative of people that I connect with through my words. And so I called her and I just said, thank you, Margie, for loving my books. And I appreciate that that you wanted to contact me. And so we kind of got talking, and she said, I have a story. And a lot of people say that to me because they know that I write people's true stories. And I said, okay, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I was like in the back of my office here, back in that chair, just kind of reclined, having a good chat. And within 2 minutes, I was up scrambling for a piece of paper and a pencil, because this was something I had never even heard before. And we talked for about an hour, and I understood in that conversation that she had been severely abused and traumatized as a child, undergone trauma and all kinds of horrible things. I didn't have the details, but I knew enough to know it was a really dark childhood. But what I heard from her was, I heard this incredible hope and this gratitude for life. She kept over and over talking about all of these things that she was so grateful for in her life. And this faith that just, she never let go of this faith. And she just kept bringing up Christ. And I understood in that first hour conversation too, that she was living with DID, which, if your listeners don't know what that is, that's dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. Mm-hmm. Now it's referred to as DID. And So I understood sort of a general thumbnail, right, of what's happening in this woman's life. But when I hung up the phone, I said, I'm in the middle of another project with my second book. I'm marketing it. And so let me just think about this, and I'll give you a call. Maybe the next time I come to Utah, I want to speak with you in person. So, because I live in Arizona. And she said, okay. And so we hung up the phone, and I just cried. I just cried out of gratitude for my own beautiful childhood, and in complete sadness for hers, which was not beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, oh my gosh, do I need to write this story? It was just this overwhelming sort of spiritual moment that I had, that I'm like, wow, am I going to have to do this? This feels so big and so hard and so complicated. How would I ever write a story like this? And I went and I met with her about 3 months later in person. And when I left her home 3 hours later, I was committed. I mean, I just said, this is what I'm supposed to do. I better take a deep breath. And so that's what I did. Is I learned her story. It took me 2 years to really, I had to understand DID at the same time that I was hearing her experiences, right? So I could put it all together and make sense for the reader. So I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever written. I mean, I put my whole heart and soul into that. And she is just amazing. Her story needs to be heard throughout the world, because she is an example of walking faith and hope in complete, utter darkness. I mean, it's just that she's able to rise up from that is so, so amazing.
That's beautiful. That's such a great story. So would you like to share ways that our listeners can contact you? How can they find you? How can they find your books and so forth?
Yeah, you can. The easiest way is to just go to HeidiTucker.com, and everything is right there. But I also have a YouTube channel. I talk a lot on the YouTube channel about my books and just about nuggets of hope in general. And that's just Heidi Tucker. And my books are also on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon and purchase them there as well. But yeah, she's just amazing. And, she taught me, I would say there's 3 main things that she taught me. And number 1 would be, she taught me to trust my core, my true identity, right? My inside core, my soul. Because through all of that noise and through everything that people told her that she was able to dig deep and really just trust her core, and to know that she was above that, right? So those abusers, they tried to break her body and her mind. And in some ways they did, but they could never break her spirit. That's one thing they couldn't touch. And so the fact that she has been able to cling to that is just amazing to me. And she is so blessed to just understand her true divine nature and to go from there. And the second thing that has really caught my attention in my friendship with her and understanding her story is she taught me how to anchor in hope, right? Because sometimes we anchor to the wrong things. We anchor to people. See, her people betrayed her. Mm-hmm. So in her case, I think that says a lot for all of us, right? Don't anchor in people, don't anchor in things. She anchored herself in Christ. I mean, she has an incredibly strong relationship and this beautiful connection with Christ since she was a little girl. And that's because that's where her anchor is placed. It's placed solidly there. And so I think that's really important, because sometimes if we pull our anchor up, we begin to drift, right? And that's when problems come up in our lives and we don't know where we're going. We don't understand why, but she keeps her anchor solidly there. And so she is just this light. And then another thing she's taught me is persistence, right? I mean, to just go to the very bitter end. It's just amazing to see her do that. And then as her story unfolds, to watch her continue down those roads of abuse and to just carry on and persist and endure, hoping that there is some relief at the end of this tunnel that she's in, this horrible tunnel. And so, we all encounter things in our life like unanswered prayers. Things go differently than we think they should go. We have a faith crisis. All of a sudden, we're not sure what we believe anymore, right? There are health issues. There are marital issues, all of these things that happen in our lives. And as we read about her, we gain a new perspective for the word persistence, which is just keep taking another step forward. Keep, hoping for that promise in your life. And, she had how many unanswered prayers, right? As she reached out as a child, please make this stop. That prayer was not answered in the way that she wanted it to be, right? Those people were not removed from her life. They were not just, here comes the lightning strike, boom, they're out of this universe. It didn't happen that way for her. And she said something to me once that just about knocked me off my chair. And I was talking to her just when the book was ready to come out. And she said, for my entire life, I have prayed that the trial would be taken away and prayed that my mind would be made clear. Like she just wants to be whole, right? To just be Margie. And she said, I'm thinking that prayer is not going to be answered in the way that I always wanted it to be, which was take this away. But instead, I think I'm going to find peace in helping others through my life and through my example. And so I think that's a different way that I never saw coming. And that's how my prayer is going to be answered. And I just thought, I was speechless from that she could see that and understand that. It was just so amazing. So I'm just amazed. And then also forgiveness. Of course, you read in the book that she is just so ready to forgive her parents and everybody else who has harmed her as a child. And, she prays for them. She prays that they will find peace and that they will heal. Right? Who does that? She does that. What an example of forgiveness. It's just amazing. So she is such a light. And I am honored to have been given the opportunity to tell her story in a way that, it's not really a book about abuse. As an inspirational writer, I would normally not write about such a hard topic and such a dark topic. But the story is about her resilience and her ability to rise up from the ashes and cling to hope. That's what the story is about. It's a hopeful inspiration book. And it just won an award this month, actually, from a whole group of people that are from all different religions and all different careers. And they awarded it Best Inspirational. And
that's awesome.
love that. I love that these people that don't know me, and aren't even necessarily the same faith that I'm in, that they read this book and said, this is a book about hope. This is an inspirational book. And I just am like, okay, I did my job, because that's what I wanted written. And that's what Margie wanted written too, right? Yeah. We both chuckle that I could have written the next Stephen King novel, right? But that's not what I do. And that's not what she wanted either. Yeah, she wants to change people's lives through her example. And boy, she's doing that, one person at a time. The emails I get back, I just bring tears to my eyes from survivors, from people who've never heard of, who've never encountered abuse or anything, but they are so inspired by her that her story has changed them. It's really enlightening to understand and learn more about DID, which you do in the book through watching her go through this and trying to learn, why is my mind doing these things? Why do I feel this way? You get a firsthand view as Margie in the book when you learn about that. So I'm just super grateful to be involved with her. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. I know, I think my wife just read it recently because I saw it sitting on our thing, and I didn't get a chance to read it before she had to. I think she got it from the library or something like that. So I'll have to read this book. It sounds a lot like Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And how he didn't let them break him, right? And
Right.
so I'll have to definitely read
Yeah.
that book.
And DID is so fascinating. I always thought of it as a mental illness. It's really not a mental illness. She has a perfectly healthy, beautiful young child mind, right?
Yeah.
And I think just like God gives us skin that repels disease and heals and all of those things that we need to continue on in life, he gives us these minds that, if subjected to what she was subjected to as a young child, she has to have a way to survive. And her way to survive was her mind split into these different parts that each took pieces of that abuse. And so it's really a protection. DID is a protection. The unfortunate part of that is that now that everything is safe and she's in this beautiful marriage and has these amazing children and grandchildren, and she's moved on in her life, those other parts don't know that. And so you live with those other parts that want to come forward and are frightened. They're frightened children. Her parts are frightened children. And so it's complicated, right? And it complicates your life, and you feel those feelings every time they come forward, whether it's in nightmares, which is every night of her life, or during episodes during the day. She feels that trauma all over again. It's an emotional feeling that she has to come to grips with. So it's difficult to live with. It's a real hard thing, but she's able to just reach out, and everybody that knows her loves her. You wouldn't know that she's struggling with parts. She keeps that very much hidden. I told her she could win an Academy Award any day of the week, because she just has a smile on her face, and her favorite thing to do is to just reach out and to love others, and they love her in return. So DID is a fascinating thing. I've always thought of it as this crazy negative mental illness, and now I think of it as one of God's most beautiful protections for children. And that we see it mostly in children who are repeatedly abused under the age of 8, where there is no escape. And that's where we see a lot of DID coming from, that situation in their life. So but that's really, that's a horrific thing. But I just see it as this beautiful protection of escape for these children that have no way out. So
I really am glad that you have been able to share this story, Margie's story of overcoming all of these struggles. I think a lot of us have not exactly the same story that she has, but we have trials and struggles in life. And if we share those with others, then we can help each other along the way. So in the spirit of following with our hope, Jason and I have come up with what we call hope, or the double down dose. And we came up with a HOPE acronym, HOPE. So heart, overcome, passion, and enough. Heidi, how would you define passion?
Passion is exactly what has driven me to continue on this journey that I'm on, this passion for hope. It's, the words, how do you describe that? Yeah, it's something that comes deep from my heart and my soul, of something of reaching out and helping someone else, to reach out. It's a selfless thing, because you can be passionate about something to the point that you just want to reach out and grab someone else and give them what you're feeling. I think that's my best way to describe it, is I want others to feel the passion for hope that I feel. And the best way for me to do that is to speak about it and to write about it. That's how I can get my largest audience. And so it's a selfless thing. It's passion is selfless. I feel it. I mean, in that sense, it's all me, but I want to get rid of that. I want to just, right? I just want to get that out and change the world one person at a time with that. I think that's passion.
That's awesome. And so in the spirit of hope, what is your definition of hope, or how would you define hope?
Ah, in one sentence, condensed from 3 books. Let me think here. Okay. I would say hope is sitting in the struggle and not knowing how and not knowing when, but trusting God and having a confident expectation and longing that promised blessings are coming.
Beautiful.
There's no wish in that. It's not wishful. I mean, it's confident. It's having a confident expectation that things are going to be made right, even though I don't know how that's going to happen. And I can't see it. I don't know how or when, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And that allows you to take another step. That allows you to get out of bed the next morning. That's what hope is.
Very good.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, Heidi, thank you so much for your time today. I have thoroughly enjoyed our discussion. I think you have some fantastic insight, and very much appreciate the fact that you're willing to put yourself out there and write these books to help encourage and uplift the whole world. So keep on doing what you do. Best wishes to you.
Thank you. You too. I love that you're spreading sprinkles of hope everywhere. That's just like so great. So great. I love it.
It is. We do love sprinkling hope all over the world, and we're glad that you're a part of this sprinkling of hope to the world. With us and helping to spread this message of hope that there is, there is something that we can get out of this situation we're in, or difficult times, or whatever it is, and it's hope, right? That
Right.
Hope is the thing that we can cling to.
Right.
And so,
hey, I love being on your team. We're all teammates.
That's
here.
right.
Yes.
LinkedIn Hope. And I love your acronym for the word. That's awesome.
Yeah, we created that a little while ago.
Yeah.
A few months ago. So
Yeah, I saw that.
So thank you, Heidi, for coming on with us. We really do appreciate your time and your words and everything that you stand for, and keep spreading more hope.
Yeah, I will, one day at a time. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much. So great to meet you both.
Yes.